Welcome to The Vault by FNBO, where we unlock stories that matter. I'm Christina Kahler, your host for today's episode. April's Financial Literacy Month, and so we're shining a light on something that touches all of us, money and finances. Financial decisions touch nearly every part of our lives, and despite its importance, it can be challenging to have all the tools and skills necessary to make confident decisions. Joining us today is Sam Hohman, CEO of Credit Advisors Foundation, an organization dedicated to giving people the tools and confidence they need to navigate credit, debt, and long-term financial planning. Sam's also a great friend to FNBO and partner of ours. We're so glad you're here, Sam. Thanks for being at the Vault.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love that introduction because it really goes at what's at the core of what we do, the Credit Advisors Foundation, and that is really help every single person. Finances impact everybody, whether it's bill paying, goal setting, and even if you think, it's Financial Literacy Month, that might not be for me. You know somebody who needs this assistance. It might be a friend, a relative, a coworker. So I encourage everyone to buckle in and stay listening.
We think a lot about financial wellness, and we know it's so important to everyone individually and for healthy and thriving communities. So we're thrilled to talk with you about this today. To get us started, do you just want to tell us a little bit about your background and about Credit Advisors Foundation?
Sure. So Credit Advisors was started in the 1950s, even prior to credit cards and large consumer debt. But even back then, you had local commercial lending operations. Maybe you'd go down the block and go to a savings and loan and borrow some money just to make ends meet, to maybe get past a hurdle in your life. And so there became a need to help people figure out, how should they prioritize their spending? How do you pay something back when it seems like it's an insurmountable debt? And from there, then we went into how, once credit cards came along, we started helping people with credit card debt. Their student loan debt. We now do bankruptcy counseling. There's just a really wide array. As consumer products expand, so do our programs to help consumers with those.
Yeah. And how did you individually get involved with the work? Because you've been a real champion for it and kind of driving things forward. So how did that start?
So I came from a human resources background, which I kind of fell into that. But in human resources, you often see people, your own employees, struggling. Maybe they're facing a garnishment. Maybe they're missing work because they're having to go, to court over a bill, or they're having to go pay a bill. Yeah. Emergencies come up, and when you see that in sort of a human resources arena, you, of course, want to help your employees. And I was sitting on the board of Credit Advisors at the time, and they needed a leader and recruited me to, rather than be a board member, be the CEO.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's such great work and so important in so many ways. So just thinking about the basics, when we talk about Financial Literacy Month and everybody kind of learning about finances, how do you define financial literacy?
Great question. So financial literacy implies that there are people who are financially illiterate. And that's not really the case. Almost everybody's got a really good idea of what financial literacy is. It's just that, life happens.
Right.
And when life happens, it throws everything into turmoil. And so sometimes you start making decisions that aren't the best. Maybe you're not prioritizing things well. So we like to think of it as financial clarity.
I love that.
And there's three simple steps to financial clarity. One is insight, understanding where you're at. And that's kind of the budgeting piece. What am I spending? What's coming in? What's going out? And what does my credit report look like? Credit report's just like a report card. It's telling the world, do you care about your finances? Are you, studying? And you can impact it, just like you can impact your grade point average. You can definitely impact your credit score. Next step of that then is goals. And goals are the fun part. I mean, the financial discipline doesn't even need the word discipline, literacy, budgeting. None of that sounds like any fun. But goals are a lot of fun.
Right.
So goals is what do I want to have happen with those financial tools that I'm going to apply? And then finally, prioritization. Because a lot of people, I think it's two separate tracks in terms of getting out of debt, and reaching my goals.
Sure.
Those are on the same rail. You don't have to jump rails, and each step gets you from point A to point B. So but you need to know the order. What are the prioritization of the things I need to do to reach my goals financially?
Yeah. And you all help people get to that point where they can clearly kind of identify those goals and make a plan.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I said that's the magic. That's the fun part.
Yeah. That's so great. Okay. So when people are at a point of being stressed about finances, it can be a real challenge, I know. And we've all made tough financial decisions or been in a moment where we make a decision that we maybe wouldn't have made otherwise. But what are the mistakes that you see people make most often, or those decisions that can impact them?
Sure. I think number one is not having some sort of savings. I think initially you call it an emergency fund, and studies have shown even just $400, that's it, $400 set aside can get you past a majority of those financial hiccups. But from $400, then make sure you have maybe 3 months set aside just in case something happens. Maybe you lose your job, maybe you get sick, maybe you need to go take care of an elderly parent. And then your next goal should be, okay, now what am I saving up for in terms of, do I need a new car? Do I need a new home? But again, it starts small. Just that $400 can make a world of difference.
Yeah. Having that as a goal and getting started and putting small amounts into an account just so you have some coverage.
Yeah,
make a lot of difference.
Back to this impacts everybody. 87% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, meaning they don't believe and have $400. That's such a large percentage. That's income agnostic. That's people who make a ton of money. It's also people who don't make a ton of money.
Just spending more or spending
up to their, their income. And that's that's another quick hint I guess I like to give people. If you get a raise, you've proven to yourself and your family you can live on that lower amount.
Yes.
Immediately take that entire raise and put it into a savings account.
So smart.
You're used to living without it. You don't need it.
Yeah, so smart. So I think most people can relate to, challenging decisions that we make and then taking steps to get on the right path. Is there anything that you recommend when people are feeling overwhelmed and stressed to take as a first step?
Talk to people you trust. And that includes maybe you have a trusted banker. Maybe you have a trusted clergy member. Maybe you need to talk to a credit counselor, like Credit Advisors Foundation. But talking about it, no matter what your issue is, if you talk about it, you start to feel better about it. Your brain starts to kind of tease things out and sort it out, but not just let it get all bottled up, because you will start to make mistakes inadvertently, and then the snowball effect of just getting into bad cycles happens.
Yes. And I know when we've talked before, you've mentioned how that snowball can happen, and maybe some decision making around, certain bills over other bills can lead to just more challenges. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So what we find, again, everyone kind of knows the mechanics of what they should do financially, but sometimes in the moment it doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you're struggling to pay your bills and you're trying to get some little win, you're just trying to make something happen. And so you look and you're like, okay, I can afford my cable bill, but I can't afford my mortgage. And you pay that cable bill. Now, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And yet you do it because you just want something good in your life, right?
And something done.
Something checked off. Yeah. So it's very easy to fall into some bad, issues. I won't call them habits because, of course, you wouldn't do them forever. But it can snowball very quickly because that now you've got a late fee you're dealing with, or you're facing collections or foreclosures or garnishments or whatever, all the other bad things that can happen when you don't take care of your finances.
Sure. And that's where I think the prioritization is so important. And, talking through things with someone.
Communication.
Yes.
I think people fear their creditors sometimes because they're afraid they won't be easy to work with.
Yeah.
But prove that out first. Call your creditor. Ask them for forgiveness or for leniency or for a deferment, and you'd be surprised. So many of them will work with you. But when they won't, or when it seems overwhelming, that's when you call a credit counselor.
That makes a ton of sense. So we know that credit and thinking about credit and your finances is so important individually, and we also think about it with communities. And we know it can be especially challenging in communities that may lack resources or be underserved. And so can you talk a bit about how Credit Advisors Foundation really helps in underserved communities?
Yeah. So one of the things that what kind of goes in hand with underserved communities is also lower income. And what income buys a lot of people is time. So income can buy you time-saving things.
Sure.
When you're in those lower income brackets, your most precious commodity is time. You don't have time to go see a credit counselor.
Yeah.
You don't have time to find a babysitter, get on a bus, go cross town,
Right.
meet with a credit counselor. So we feel it's really important to be in their communities, embedded either with other agencies that are assisting them or with First National Bank. Meet the people where they're at so that at the moment they need a counselor, you're right there. They're not having to struggle to figure this out and schedule it.
Yes. So what does that work then look like? The counseling itself.
Counseling itself it's really very simple, and it's those 3 steps I mentioned at the beginning. It's giving the person insight, helping them find the trees for the forest, so to say, going over their budget and saying, okay, here's what your income looks like, here's what your expenses look like. We're not there to say life should be, terrible and you spend too much on coffee. We're there to say, here's where your money's going.
Yes.
And kind of open their eyes to that. Also, the credit report, super important because that score is telling the public, and I say the public, but that's your credit score. That's telling everyone whether you're credit worthy or not. So you have to be in touch with your credit score. Yeah. Once they have that insight, it's very easy to then say, what are your goals? And then we just help them with an action plan. All right, do this, then this, then this.
Yes.
And we have programs that will help you get from here to there.
Yes. When it comes to our branches and how this works in our branches, do you want to explain that a little bit?
Now, most people, when they have money problems, the first thing that comes to their brain isn't, I need a credit counselor.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to their brain is, I need money. And where's their money? There's money at a bank. So they go to the bank and they say, I need a loan. And the bank very kindly says, not yet, and hands them off to a counselor who says, okay, let's take a look at why the bank is saying not yet.
Yes.
Let's get your credit score into a place where it makes sense for them to lend you money.
Yes, and then working through those steps and creating an action plan.
Exactly.
And
then it's very supportive because now you have a 3-legged stool. They know that, okay, the bank is going to loan me money or the bank is going to allow me to be a customer, but I just have to do these things, and these guys are in partnership together.
Yes.
We're all happy.
Yeah. Works really well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are there stories that come to mind when you think about this work that bring it to life?
We joke around our office because the average longevity of my employees is 18 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's the average.
That's fantastic.
But they love the work because every day there's somebody they've talked to they've been able to help. So there's
so
literally
rewarding.
thousands of stories. But one in particular, we had a couple, I'll change their names, Yolanda and Kevin. And they came to us and they were in a world of hurt. He was military, spent a lot of time away from home. She was not in a good mental space because he was gone so often. Marriage difficulties. They were on the verge of bankruptcy. But when you're in the military and you have certain clearances, that's kind of a non-starter for your career.
Sure.
So came to us. We counseled them and we're like, you guys don't have to file bankruptcy. There's a very easy way. We will work with your creditors. Your creditors are offering great programs to help lower your payments. So that there's more room in your budget so you can make that rent payment that you've been missing on occasion. Yeah. And they were so relieved.
Oh, yeah. Life-changing.
Life-changing.
Truly.
So there's the insight. But the goals came, they didn't really have any goals. And that was the problem. Like, do you have any goals? Well, we want to make sure Kevin can hang on to his job. Well, we're looking, you pay a substantial amount in rent. Have you ever thought about homeownership? And neither of them had come from backgrounds where homeownership was a reality at all. Yeah. And they're like, now that's not in our future. It's not been in our past. What are you kidding me? We could be homeowners?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. If you get these things into place. They were so motivated after that. Within 18 months, they had raised their score over 100 points. They had socked away money. We found them a down payment assistance program, and they were on their way to homeownership.
What a story.
And it took 18 months.
Wow.
Because they became so committed to it.
Yeah. Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And you
But
think
those
about,
stories are every day, literally
know,
every day.
thinking that you have to file bankruptcy and then learning that you could become homeowners,
Right.
right?
It's that insight, clarity.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't have to struggle every day at the kitchen table trying to figure out which bill to pay.
Right. And you really do, the way that you talk about it presents all of these things as tools and goals and something that's positive.
Nobody wakes up and says, today I want a budget. Today I want to. No, that's not the fun part. The fun
Yeah.
part's the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then achieving those goals. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We know you have a lot of great tools for everyone to access. So we definitely want to share that. Thinking about giving our listeners some steps they can take, if they're thinking they could use some help, what would you recommend?
First thing, I would go onto our website. We have classes that are monthly and they're held live. So every class is different, but we focus. One focuses on credit. It's called Credit 101, and one focuses on home ownership. And if the Credit 101 is like an hour. It's very simple. You just Zoom in.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave your own home.
It's great.
Once a month, English and Spanish. And then we have lots of other classes if people are interested. But it's a great place to start. It starts to pique your curiosity about what is possible. Lots of helpful hints, lots of information of things people never even knew.
Yeah.
Touch on credit identity theft, lots of topics. But it's a very painless way to just start poking around the edges.
Yeah, and understanding your own situation, using those tools. So we talked a little bit about credit reports, using it as a tool both to improve your credit, but also just to make sure that everything is as you expected.
Sure. You need to look at your credit report and be engaged in it. Mm-hmm. If you know that you are going to have a large purchase coming up, that's the time to really dig in and say, okay, I want my credit to be the absolute best it can be. Because even a couple of points will make a difference on the rate of that loan. So in the long run, the higher your score, the less you pay.
Yes.
And it makes your car insurance lower. Which people are like, wait, what? What does that have to do with it?
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it will make it'll make a lot of your insurances lower because they're just running numbers. And people who have lower scores are interpreted as people who care less. And whether that's correct or not, that's just how the algorithm works. So they're going to charge you more in interest rates. It also it sets you up for the ability to have more financial products as well. The higher your score, the more financial products you have. You get down into those lower scores, and then that's where the panic sets in because you don't have the option of getting a good loan, maybe not even getting a loan at all.
Very limited.
Very, very limited.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who has no intention, maybe you own your own home, you own the last car you're ever going to drive, don't worry about your credit report. It's not, again, it's there as a tool to determine your credit worthiness. And if you don't need credit, it's not something to regularly worry about.
Do you think about fraud and other things? Do you recommend using a credit report for that purpose?
Absolutely, because a credit report is going to show you everything that's not just that you owe money on, but it's also going to show you everything you applied for within the last 2 years. So if you get a copy of your credit report and it shows a bunch of applications for credit and you never requested that credit, that could be a sign that somebody's got your personal identification information and they're going to keep trying until somebody gives the money or even worse, you find that there's a loan or a credit card or something on your credit report that's not yours and you'll want to address that immediately. It's probably a good indication that there's been identity theft.
Yeah, really important to take a look at it for that reason, for sure. As people are engaging with the services maybe that Credit Advisors Foundation provides, what should they expect as far as, is it something they pay for? How does that work?
So all of our counseling is free. So if you call us and we go through your credit report with you and we talk about your goals, all those things I mentioned earlier, the 3 steps, that's all absolutely free. If it's determined that you need to go like on a longer term plan, maybe a debt management plan, then we're going to look at what you can afford. We're a nonprofit. It's a sliding scale fee. as we mentioned earlier, our services are for everybody. So if somebody comes to me in $300,000 worth of credit card debt, they probably have enough income to pay a fee. But if you come to me and you have next to no income and you're barely covering your bills, we're not going to charge you. So it's a sliding scale fee, and it's never going to be more than what you were paying before because we're able to get all of your payments lowered.
That's great. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on or share?
One of our most important products is our debt management plan. So this is a program where if somebody's having difficulty paying their bills, they come to us, we work with their creditors, and we get them to lower the interest rates, lower the payment amount. That creates more room in their budget so that their housing becomes more affordable, and it sort of settles everything until they can get past the hump. Now, most of us have heard these late night ads that say, if you're $10,000 or more in credit card debt, we have a secret government program for you. And the second they set a limit on that dollar amount, the $10,000, the $15,000, what that actually is a debt settlement program, which is completely different. It sounds very similar because you make one payment that's affordable for you, but the difference is they are escrowing your money and waiting until you have enough to pay a lump sum. In the meantime, they have sent a cease and desist letter to the creditor. So now the creditor has two choices. I either take a loss on it or I sue them. And the collection process gets very nasty because the creditor has no choice. The consumer, their credit just tanks, like it immediately goes down to terrible scores.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, the consumer's got this money doing nothing. It's just sitting in an escrow account. But I just encourage people, if you hear that $10,000 limit or any sort of limit, we'll work with anybody who has problems. It doesn't matter because debt is debt to them, right? So make sure you understand the difference between a debt management program where you're working with your creditors versus debt settlement where it's going to ruin your credit and it becomes a very adversarial situation with your creditors.
Wow, very important to understand that distinction for sure. Thank you for sharing that. So for our customers who are listening, we do have an easy option for them to get in touch with you as well.
Absolutely. We have a toll-free number that is dedicated to First National Bank clients. So your clients have an inline direct to us. That way my counselors know that they have a relationship with you and they get special treatment.
That's great. We'll put the number in the show notes so that everyone can access that.
Awesome.
Sam, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing about financial clarity. Absolutely love that. And all of the tools that you help people learn about to create a better financial future for themselves. You know, we recognize just how important this is to us individually and to us as a community. And we appreciate all the great work that you do.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Christina Kahler, and this is The Vault by FNBO.
The Vault is brought to you by FNBO, member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Podcasts are for informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. This content is educational in nature and should not be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. When making decisions about your financial situation, consult a financial professional for advice. References to third-party organizations, services, and websites are for informational purposes only and do not constitute an endorsement by First National Bank of Omaha. Any third-party services or organizations referenced are separate from First National Bank of Omaha. Podcasts are not regularly updated and information may become outdated. Deposit products are offered by First National Bank of Omaha, member FDIC. Investment products are not FDIC insured and not a deposit or other obligation of the bank. Not insured by any federal government agency. Not guaranteed by the bank and may lose value.